Okay, that's cool.
All right. Well, welcome to Can We Talk, the R&B podcast that features Nnamdi and myself, Omar.
Yes,
Hope
welcome.
everybody's feeling good. Welcome back.
Yes, I hope you've enjoyed your Christmas holidays and feastings and all that stuff.
Right. I
Yeah.
did. I did. Um, a lot of running around these last few days trying to do a last minute shopping because, I always wait to the last minute to do everything, unfortunately. But that's when I work the best. Like my mind works the best at the last minute for some reason.
Okay.
Like if I have plenty of time, it's like, it ain't getting done. But if I like, oh, you got like 2 hours to do this, I'm like, "Ugh," and I'm like at my best. So, but
Okay.
anyway, no, it was pretty good. How was your holiday?
Yeah, it was good. It's been great just to be able to just to zone out and not do too much, knowing that we've got a yeah, 2022 is just around the corner. So yeah, it was good just to have time out. I can see you brought a little martini
Yes, a
cocktail with
little.
you.
It's there's orange juice in here somewhere. But I'm joking. No, it's just orange juice.
Yeah.
Well, have you heard? So recently, Jay-Z and Alicia Keys sat down because Alicia Keys, of course, is releasing her new album Keys, which
Okay.
is actually going to be her final record for RCA Sony.
Okay. She's still
Um,
with them.
she is. This is well. I'm not, after this album, she won't be, but
Okay.
um, this is going to be her final album. And so she sat down and she's been doing a big media blitz to promote it. It's called Keys. Her last album was called Alicia, I believe.
Okay.
So
Creative.
clever. You got the greatest minds working on these titles.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, so she sat down with Jay-Z and he said some interesting things. I wanted to get your opinion on them.
Okay.
But first, he said one thing that set me off. So he said, in regards to versus battles, he said, don't no disrespect to nobody, but nobody can stand on that stage with me. Nobody can stand on that versus stage with me. And the first thing that came to my mind was, but you can't even stand on the stage with your wife. Like she upstaged you. Beyonce upstaged you on you remember that tour they were on? Like
Yeah.
I would always just keep panning over to Beyonce. Like so, but I'm joking. But I thought it was curious the arrogance. Like I felt like, okay, Jay-Z, you've been a successful rapper, but to say no one can stand on that stage with you in a versus battle is kind of a little arrogant and disrespectful because there's so many rappers that came before you that paved the way. There's so many talented rappers that came out when you were out that due to whatever reasons you had the upper hand on over them. So I don't think that he's taking consideration the vast um, the vast catalog some of these artists have. Like Eminem, even Lil Wayne, Drake. I mean, there's so many people. People like to say Nas, and I think lyrically, yes, Nas is definitely neck and neck with him, and maybe even better. But I don't know the hits lineup, but Nas is another tough contender too. So it's very bold of a statement. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think there are some people that seem to be bigger than versus Mariah Carey, Beyonce, and even Jay-Z, and I know Jay-Z would be thinking, okay, I'm bigger than Swiss and Tim, so to be on their platform, almost says something. So he's thinking in that sense. When it comes to being on stage with anybody, I think it's you might look at say, okay, maybe Snoop. He's had a large catalog of hits.
Right.
You know, you might, but his style. I mean, but as a hip hop artist, part of their persona is that sense of arrogance. You're an MC. You stand up there saying, "There's no one better than me, and I'm the best. I'm the greatest." And so that is part of the whole image as a hip hop artist. I'm so big that I can.
But
I've retired. It's like a boxer saying, "No one can beat me." Because if you don't do that,
yeah,
then what are you trying to say? So I don't know if it's a sign of disrespect. He always would give Biggie and Pac their dues, but he says on stage right now, who's around? You know, people might have said, "Oh, yeah, you couldn't even battle DMX." But DMX sadly has passed. So I think it's something that you say to pretty much say, look, forget verses. This is, you know, I'm bigger than verses. I've got my own stuff. And anyway, even if I did it, who's out there to come against me? Because he can bring 20 hits that you know, and he probably can also he's the most nominated Grammy artist in the history of the Grammys. Read with that and something you want. He's the most nominated Grammy winner among anyone in hip hop, and probably one of the top 5. Reading that if you want, he has, you know, every album has gone platinum, double platinum. So he could pretty much say, okay, who's achieved what I've achieved that's around right now, and it's a statement,
and
it's up to
it's a statement.
Yeah,
it's a statement, but it's a statement that could be challenged. And I think it's not necessarily, to me, like the whole like wrestling, where it's just the theatrics of, yeah, who can. I don't take it like that. I take it as arrogance. I take it as never being challenged. And people, I think Jay-Z, he comes with a certain, it's like he comes with a fear in that industry. Like everybody's afraid to say something against Jay-Z. You know, and you even mentioned Swizz and Timbo. Like Swizz and Timbo are in his pocket. Like he's pretty much one of the most powerful people behind the scenes that are visible in the music industry. So on any level, they are going to set it up for him to win, regardless. I mean, okay, you got hits. There's a lot of other artists that got hits. You know, Lil Wayne, Drake, Eminem.
but if you think about Lil Wayne and Drake, though, I mean, give me, you know, are there 20 tracks that Wayne has?
I'm not gonna go specifically.
No, I'm not asking you to go through the tracks, but if you go through them, they've got hits, but you know, the impact Jay-Z has had from the 90s throughout the 2000s, it's quite hard to, you know, the only other person, Eminem and Kanye, who have had commercial and hip hop and hits. But Nas, as good as a lyricist he is, he hasn't had, you know, Billboard 100 top 10 type of tracks like Jay-Z. So that's where, you know, Jay-Z has built this persona and built this sort of stuff which, regardless of whether it's the hip hop heads. I'm not like the Source and that could talk about Triple X, XXXL, who can really talk about who has the best stuff, or like
I wasn't gonna get that in depth.
So I'm not that but I'm just talking as an R&B fan who looks into hip hop and knows that, okay, actually Jay-Z's catalog of hits are really out there, and it's hard to think of. I know
what you're talking about right now, the impression you have got from outside looking in, as not necessarily a hip hop fan, but more of an R&B fan, a casual listener, maybe hip hop. The marketing, the propaganda, the PR machine has told you Jay-Z is the best ever. He's the GOAT.
Not
He's
ever.
The greatest ever.
Not ever.
Well, let me finish. So that's what you're kind of speaking off of. And a lot of people, this is what bothers me, is that a lot of artists become untouchable in that way. Like, well, who can challenge Jay-Z? Well, there are a lot of people that could challenge Jay-Z. I mean, I would at least say at least 5 good people. But again, that's for another segment. I'm going to name it in another segment. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do it in another segment. But my point of the point of my conversation is the arrogance of saying that, when you know that you're pretty much behind the scenes running the show. So how fair of a playing field is that? If you put Bone Thugs and Harmony and 366 Mafia on the stage together, that's the even playing field. They don't control. The person that owns it, that runs the show, Timbaland and Swizz, are not in their pocket. You get what I'm saying? There are no consequences if you lose. If Jay-Z loses, even and let's just say hypothetically, he gets on that stage, but then it's looked at as Jay-Z lost against whoever. You don't think there's going to be repercussions behind the scenes? Okay, all of a sudden somebody's album is not coming out, it's being delayed, or some kind of show has been canceled. That's the kind of games that Jay-Z plays behind the scenes. That's why so many people are afraid, because he has so much power. You're looking at somebody that used to be the president of Def Jam. You're looking at somebody that runs Rock Nation and to some extent is a part of that Live Nation stuff and all of that stuff that's behind all of the artists. So again, if you have the best publicists, you have the best people to create a story, and you brought something to the table, though. I mean, he does have accolades, he has accomplishments, but I mean, I'm looking at Drake. Drake has been killing it, period. Every album, multi-platinum, not just platinum, multi-platinum. His influence is felt. How dare you act like you're just the only person that's been doing it great on a big scale? I get it. I get it. Some of it can be entertainment, but I don't think that that was coming from an entertainment, you know, standpoint. I take it as an arrogance, knowing that either way you're going to win because you're Jay-Z. It's very arrogant. And then I don't think anybody's bigger than Versus. I feel like Versus is for an artist like a Mariah Carey, because we all have always had that fantasy matchup in our mind of these certain artists. What if Michael Jackson went up against Prince? What if Whitney Houston went up against Mariah Carey? So this is just that fantasy realized in a competition. And
Yeah,
it's resurrected a few careers or helped a couple of people get more attention. But reality is, I want to see the big names do those verses. A lot of
yeah,
them don't want to because it puts them at risk. An artist that are a low level, it doesn't put them at risk because they need the exposure.
yeah.
But
No,
it would put
yeah,
Jay-Z at a risk if Jay-Z get on that stage and Nas completely smashes him. Now his credibility and viability is going down because now his reputation is taking a hit. Just like when he put out that super ugly disc to Nas's Ether, and everybody thought that Ether was better. You know, I mean, it takes is one slip up to lose that crown with certain people.
yeah.
That's
Well,
just
anyway,
my
yeah.
opinion.
But as I said, there are people who are bigger. Versus is something run by Switz and Tim, and Jay Z has his own
Yeah,
platform, and he in his head is like, look, I'm bigger than what they've got up, and I'm not going to put myself in there. Um, the same way Diddy was like, okay, even I'm sponsoring it, but if I went on this stuff, I need another massive heavyweight like Dre. But even Dre was like, no, I'm not going to put myself out there. I've got my own platform, Apple, beat Apple Music. So there
yes,
are people who like, where levels where we don't take that risk, we don't put ourselves out there, and we don't come under anyone else's jurisdiction. We don't
right.
need but we don't need the publicity and the promotion. Um,
Everybody needs publicity and promotion. And I'm glad you brought up Diddy, because Diddy owns Revolt. And remember when Jermaine Dupri challenged Diddy,
mhm.
Diddy had in mind Dre from a business standpoint, because he knows Dre and him both have empires that can
Yeah,
benefit off of that pairing. So again, like I said, it's never going to be a fair matchup, and that's why I'm glad I saw like Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One on stage and doing their battle, and it was like two greats we would have never thought to put together. That's in its rawest form. What that is putting hit by hit, even performance by performance, and seeing who's better. But Jay-Z's bringing too much stuff into the mix that makes it unbalanced and unfair for him. He runs everything. He's rubbing shoulders with people behind the scenes. Diddy is running this. You can't get anything fair from that because everybody has something to lose, something to gain. They have influence and power. So it would never be a fair fight in the first place. So
yeah,
but again, it was a good little conversation and thing going back and forth with Alicia and Jay-Z, and it was an interesting conversation. So I want everybody to go check that out. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that Jay-Z has any competition that anybody could go against Jay-Z? If you have any names, put them in the comment section. Do you think I'm out of my mind that Jay-Z's the greatest of all time? No one has ever touched a mic that hasn't been able to do what he's done. Nobody sold the records he sold. Then put that in the comment section. And thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.